if you're filled with the toxins, you can feed all the nutrients you want in there. Your body's still not going to naturally work. You got to clear the slate and then give it what it needs. And so I guess the argument then is what it needs right now is stuff that detoxifies you. But you get that stuff out and it's just like, whoa, everything comes back to power.
This episode is so chock full of tangible information that's going to so impact you and your family's health. In this podcast, I get to interview Dr. Chris Shade. He's the founder and CEO of one of my favorite supplement companies, Quicksilver. Dr. Shade is one of the smartest people that I know, and my biggest struggle with this episode was to make sure to fit it all in with him being able to really showcase his incredible knowledge and passion for cellular biology and human health. My goal with this podcast is also to simplify this information for you. So you're going to walk away from this podcast with information on what are the best and most important supplements to take and why at different ages and stages of your life, whether you're a 30 to 40-year-old female or male, a 40 to 50-year-old female or male or beyond. If you're someone who wants to detoxify gently yet effectively, if you have questions about your teens' hormonal health and great support, as well as are there supplements that you should be taking around your workouts, around your ice baths, around your saunas. We answered all these questions. I'm so excited for you to get this information. Enjoy. Welcome, Dr. Shade. So looking forward to this conversation with you. Chris is the founder and CEO of Quicksilver Scientific, some of my favorite supplement products, and a PhD. I know you could go off on so many incredible, deep scientific tangents, and we can do that. And my goal of this podcast is to take somewhat broad information. You know, we have so many access to so many great supplements and products to boost our health. And what I always want to do is, narrow it down, make it super easy for people to know what they need based on their goals. So we're going to, go over some background information about your company. And then I just kind of want to hit it. Like we're going to talk about women during each phase of their life, what they should take, men, anyone interested in detoxification, the one supplement everyone should be on every day, all the things that we all want to know.
All right. I'm ready.
Thanks for sharing your expertise. All right. So I love Quicksilver. I was introduced to you a few years ago. I know we travel a lot together. We're in the same kind of circles. And I've been blown away by the products that I've used from you guys. And so I just want to help give people a general background as to kind of what Quicksilver is, what you guys focus on, and how you got into this.
Yeah, Quicksilver Scientific. Quicksilver is the old European word for mercury. It means liquid silver. And I got into it. I did my PhD in mercury biogeochemistry. It's a long word for how mercury moves through the environment, all the transformations it does, including moving up through the food chain and bioaccumulating in the fish. And I came into integrative and functional medicine first measuring forms of mercury and their disposition in the body, what forms are accumulating, how well you're detoxing them. That's called our mercury tri test. And then I had to figure out, how do we get mercury out of the body? And so we developed a whole supplement system for mercury and other metal detoxification. And that was really our calling card, including our best-selling product is liposomal glutathione. And then we, by making really highly bioavailable supplements, first with the liposomal glutathione and some of the other early products, then moving into CBD, immune products, metabolic products, that ability to get the very high bioavailability and very immediate absorption so that you can really move the needle, try and move the, turn the triggers that you're trying to do. That got us to expand into a number of different things, including longevity, anti-aging, biohacking stuff that we usually run in the same circles with. So it started in detox. We're still the masters of detox, but that movement into bioavailability has put us into a bunch of other categories as well.
Amazing. Yeah. Love your detox product as well. I think my husband and I, as well as our oldest son, has been taking them. So good. Okay. So, in general, most of the people that watch my podcast are overall pretty healthy. I think we all tend to eat, pretty clean. We've all got our challenges, but for people like all of us who tend to eat pretty clean, why do we need to supplement? Like, can't we get most of these things from our foods?
If you spend most of your day cooking and you have access to really good organic, not like McDonald's organic, USDA organic stuff, but really organic, all the seasonal stuff and you can cook all the colors of the rainbow and do all that, you can get a lot, most of it from the food, but most of us don't have that time. And so, and even then in our soils, there's so much demineralization. You have to be in one of these, you got to be near one of these farms where they incorporate rock dust in their compost and really get everything in there. So the food these days, even the organic food, doesn't have the nutrient value that it used to have. And so there's just the basic nutrition. Where do you get the minerals? Where do you get the vitamins? That's one thing, and that's easier to supplement. But then when you're trying to, we're under this assault of different environmental toxins coming at us and all kinds of different stressors on us. So where are we going to get concentrations of these phytochemicals that really turn up things like NRF2, the trigger for detox, AMPK, the trigger for cardiometabolic wellness? Where are we got, how much do we need to move the needle to look at like our epigenetic age? And that's where we really need these things concentrated down and put into a format that enhances their bioavailability.
So much information in that noggin. That's just like a tiny bit of the tangents that you could go on. And I think it's important for people to understand some of your background and some of your knowledge before we delve into your products. And we will keep that aspect, I think, pretty simple. But again, yours are some of the best things I've taken on the market. And a lot of, I think, the reason behind that is not only the quality, but you've really taken a deep delve into how the body works and the physiology. And like you said, turning on these systems that then help allow our body to do what it does, right?
Yeah.
Like our body can heal itself if it's got everything that it needs. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, and what you're alluding to is going in and being able to line up a bunch of processes in the body. So it's not enough to just say, "Oh, I hear lipoic acid turns up detox," or Kristen does this or that. If you don't know all of the different things, and once you look at it, it's not that complex. But like in detox, your cells, you need to prepare and conjugate a toxin to something that you make a biomolecule, then you shift it into the blood, then you need the liver to take it out of the blood and then to dump it into the bile. And then you need a binder to pick it up in the GI tract. And once you line that up, you couple cellular detoxification to liver activity into the movement of bile, and then you come in with the binders, then you really get efficient detox. A lot of these other ways you go in, you just end up stirring up the pot. And that absence of people's understanding of detoxification and bile flow. So bile, that's stuff that's emulsifying the fats in our diet. It's help cleaning the upper GI. We don't realize that the transport of bile out, the transporters that move bile out of the liver into the bile ducts and into the gallbladder are the same ones that move the toxins. So there's a lot of this, one hit wonder stuff. Oh, this molecule does all this stuff. But this is a symphony of activity in the body. And so if we don't look at all the parts and couple them all together, we can't get big effects. But if we do that, we can have really profound detoxification without all the symptoms that people think. It's like people think, oh my God, I'm going to do a detox. I got to be next to the bathroom because you're going to be going to the bathroom all the time because some detox people just put a bunch of laxatives in there. Or they think, oh, I'm going to be so tired and have brain fog and migraines because people don't know how to couple all these things together. So when we do it right, and so those are the two things we bring. We bring the bioavailability and the knowledge of all the pathways and how to stack and layer everything together so that you do get a big, effective effect. And people don't understand how profound detoxification is. Our toxin levels in our cells are really profoundly disrupting our homeostasis. You look at the immune system, toxins shift the immune system away from like, oh, there's a bug, kill it, to, oh, there's a food, kill that. Oh, there's something in the air, kill that. This non-specific inflammation that's reacting to all the things that should be nurturing us and ignoring the bugs inside us. You detoxify, your immune system just rights itself and knows what to do again. Aging, we don't realize how profoundly toxins age us. In fact, there's a term for it now called a gerontogen. Something, gerontology, the study of aging, a gerontogen generates aging, something that accelerates the rate of aging. We were able to do a 3-month program with a cohort of 40 people where we gave them these detoxification and cardiometabolic, mitochondrial upregulating supplements. It was a 3-month program, and we were able to reverse the absolute biological age and significantly slow down the rate of aging. So this is really a core thing for our well-being that people just don't take often seriously enough, or they're afraid of it because it's going to do these weird things to them. In fact, I was on the call with a woman with cancer last night, and she was afraid to do detox because she was like, well, I heard that just makes everything weirder. And it's like, no, not when you do it right. It really gets things out. And if you're going to go down this path, there's a lot of things that she's got to do. Detoxification is going to be, cleaning the slate is going to be part of how she's setting up all these protocols for herself.
Such important points that you brought up there. I mean, detoxification literally helps with every system in the body. It allows us
Yeah.
to just, again, I want to keep going back to this because I think it's so important that we realize how powerful we truly are. Like when we have what we need, just enough of what we need and not too much of what we don't, our body naturally works.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you can if you're filled with the toxins, you can feed all the nutrients you want in there. Your body's still not going to naturally work. You got to clear the slate and then give it what it needs. And so, I guess the argument then is what it needs right now is stuff that detoxifies you. But you get that stuff out and it's just like, whoa, everything comes back to power.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I wonder if you feel the same, like a lot of people as we age, we tend to think that these are just normal parts of aging,
Yeah,
right? Like a little brain fog, a little tired in the morning, a little tired in the afternoon. They're not. That's toxicity.
that definitely is.
And we can feel better. Well, so let's delve in. I think what's great about what you guys have done as well is you make things so simple through your package protocols.
Yeah.
So why don't we just go ahead and delve into your detox one?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the sort of base package for us is called Push Catch Liver Detox. There's this stuff called liver sauce, nice and simple, but it's really beyond that. It gets the cells to throw the toxins into circulation, the liver to pull them in, and then dump them out with the bile. That's the push. Push all the way through the system. Then the catch is a system of binders. So what are binders? These are little particles that don't get absorbed but catch and hold toxins that are coming out of the bile. So this would be as simple as charcoal is the most sort of fundamental of them, different kinds of clays and zeolites. We've got chitosan, which is a more advanced biotoxin binder. We have something that we make that's specific for metals. So it's a cocktail of these different binders. So why do you need the binders? These toxins come out with the bile, but a lot of them go right back in and get reabsorbed. And so we were able to set up this sort of relay race for toxins. And this only works because of the bioavailability. When you take that liver sauce, all those compounds go into your blood and peak within 20 to 30 minutes in the blood and activate all these processes, start moving the toxins down. They dump out with the bile into the GI tract. And a half hour after you take that, you take these binders. So when they're coming out, the binders come in and grab them. And it's really beautiful. It ties that cycle of detox into a nice little bow. If you're taking capsules, one compound absorbs in an hour, one takes 3 hours, one takes 5 hours, one's 8 hours to peak. Different things going on all over the body. But now here, all the different whole plant extracts and pure phytochemicals come to bear on the situation all at once. And so that was really a profound change in detox doing that. And that's the simplest, but really, if you want to get in, you're going to have to add some things on. I just wanted to have that minimalistic core. But then something like glutathione, this is our flagship product, and this is core to detox. It's one of the molecules that you link onto a toxin to make this little escort service that's recognizable by these transporters that move it out of the system. Glutathione is also a big free radical control, all the oxidative stress it's controlling. It's central for mitochondrial functioning, and it's huge for immune functioning and telomerase activity. Telomerase is the thing that lengthens your telomeres and caps your chromosomes that start shortening as you age, and they shorten also with toxic insults. So there's different add-ons. So this second package we made was called Advanced Push Catch. That's my favorite right now. 1 month, it's got the liver, the binder, it's got a kidney support because kidney is your other main organ of detox. It's got glutathione, it's got membrane support. Your cell membranes, and inside your cell, there's even more membranes than the outer membrane, and they're called membranous organelles. Mitochondria is the most well known of that, but the endoplasmic reticulum and the Golgi apparatus, this is where all the brains of the cell are. This is where the decision making of the cell takes place. All these organelles have this communication structure between them. And this is where the power of the cell is. The membrane separates opposites. So protons on that side, electrons on that side, magnesium over here, calcium over here, potassium over there, sodium over there, separates opposites and lets them come back together and harnesses that energy to drive different enzymatic reactions. And so it's one of the missing things in feeding. And in fact, the German biomedical medicine around mitochondrial health was just filled with all of this phospholipid membrane renewal, supplementation of something called phosphatidylcholine. So that's a core part. This push catch, membrane renewal, supporting all of the things, getting the antioxidants in there. So that advanced push catch box is a 1 month, really nice detox. Now, if you're really deep, you're going to have to do 2, maybe even 3, but 1 month, it's really easy to get into and it really has a profound change for you.
I love to your charcoal comes in capsules and then
Capsules now.
which thank you because I
You're
like to swallow them. And then the powder you've always had is great for liquid, which is amazing for a 12-year-old. It doesn't taste like anything. Dissolves
Blackwater.
in water.
Yeah, you put that
It looks
binder in a little shaker, shake it up, drink it down. Kids are like, "Oh, Blackwater, cool," and it doesn't taste like
Mhm.
anything. And that in the liquid, it's more immediate. It's like goes in, binds right away. The capsule's got to break down and mix it around a little bit, but they're so much easier to move around with. And so, like, like if I'm taking that advanced push catch and applying it to mold, I'm going to add more binders. Middle of the day, you're going to take a handful of the capsules, just bring them to work, take them, because
Mhm.
the advanced push catch is twice a day dose, but then a middle of the day dose of the binders. And then before you go to bed, a couple more binders. And in fact, I keep a little jar of the binder capsules next to, like, a little cup of them next to my bedside table. And I throw a couple of those in at night before I go to bed, let them go through, let them detox stuff for you. Because, I found a study from the Russian Institute of Gerontology. This is the guys who did all the bioregulatory peptides. They're the longevity masters. They had a study just on charcoal with mice where it lengthened their lifespan. Their median lifespan was 43% longer, and their maximal was 34% longer. It was like, what? And they
Wow.
talked about it being a third organ of detoxification through the GI. And it emphasized lysosomal activity in the cell. That's autophagic activity. When we talk about some things like senescent cells and killing senescent cells, mitophagy, killing old mitochondria, it's turning over the old and making way for the new. And this just one extra push of detoxification enabled the bodies to do that and lengthen their lifespan.
Wow. I take charcoal at night often, and I can tell when I'm doing it for, a week or so in a row, I wake up, like, ready to hit
Clean.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, totally
Totally.
clean. I just wanna go back and touch on something you talked about, the membrane, the cellular membrane. I think this isn't even in educated circles, if you're not a practitioner, if you're not going to conferences and getting continuing ed, I don't know that a lot of people here are aware of this concept. We used to think of the nucleus as the brain of the cell.
Yeah.
It's where the DNA resides. That's what controls everything. They've now done tests. They've taken a healthy cell and a sick cell. They swap the nucleus, nothing changes.
Nothing.
You take a healthy cell and a sick, cancerous, toxic cell, you switch the cellular membrane and the cells switch.
Yeah.
So the membrane is what is impacting the cell, is what we now know.
Yeah. It was Bruce Lipton was famous for saying the membrane is the brain of the cell. So what is the nucleus? The nucleus is the library. It is a library that contains all the programs that the consciousness of our cell can manifest as it sees fit. How does it decide what's fit? You've got the outer membrane, the gating for in and out, where things come in, where things go out, and where all the cell-to-cell communication happens. And when that's healthy, you're bringing the good in, you're passing the bad out. There's a nice movement through it, but it has to be very fluid. When it gets damaged, it gets very rough and stiff, and it can't really move the transporters, and it can't communicate well with the outside. Then what happens for the rest of the decision making? Like, how do we decide what to take out of our library? So programs are inside the library. You need to have RNA read the DNA, bring the signal out to ribosomes to make the proteins or other structures that they're coding for, so that we can run different programs. These are higher order programs of longevity and regeneration, or lower order programs of just keep it alive. So there's signaling that goes from the cell membrane to the endoplasmic reticulum membrane. And this is really cool. They put probes in both. And if they changed the polarity of the outer membrane, the inner membrane instantaneously changed in an equal and opposite phase. So the endoplasmic reticulum is at light speed communication with the outside. And if the outside's all screwed up and it can't signal, then it's just kind of zombie-like inside. Then the endoplasmic reticulum has calcium signaling with the mitochondria and the Golgi apparatus, the other membranous organelles, and they're deciding what are our intracellular resources, what are the extracellular resources. They're making decisions on what order of programming can be manifest at that time, and then they translate that decision into the nucleus to transcribe the appropriate genes for the situation that it has. And so feeding the membranes, feeding the cells, detoxifying the cells, lets them decide, hey, we can live at a really high level. We are going to, live our best, longest life.
So pretty much that's the case as well for, epigenetics versus genetics, right? So
Yeah, that's
that's
what
the
genes are
difference.
going to turn on and off. And, even like I didn't even go into the membrane health on the inside of the cell. Like when we all know that mitochondria are the driving force of the cell, and loss of mitochondrial integrity is really the driver of aging and almost all pathologies. What makes a bad mitochondria? A bad membrane in the mitochondria. So there's the outer membrane of the mitochondria, and then there's just this intricately folded, like accordion of a membrane on the inside called the inner membrane. And that's where all the ATP is made. Those membranes, again, create that power differential. And here we're moving protons to the outside, and then they rush in through ATP synthase and make ATP. Now, if those are damaged, you can't make energy. And in fact, you make free radicals and you damage other things around you. And so rebuilding them with things like phosphatidylcholine for rebuilding membranes builds power back into the system. And then having signaling to clean up the old. And the signaling to clean up the old is autophagy. And that comes when we're fasted or carb restricted, keto diet, or when we're taking supplements or even pharmaceuticals that activate this path called AMPK. That is the signal for inner recycling. It's the signal when we run out of excess food, the amino acids are down, the carbs are down, and thus the insulin's down. Then the body says, move food out of storage, stored glycogen, stored sugars, stored fats as ketones, and recycle the old proteins. That's the autophagy. And so when we do all this, we renew and rebuild the cell. But if we're stuck in this, really bad diet, we just get stuck into this cellular breakdown.
I told you all, lots in that noggin.
Sorry.
No, I love it. I
Just
love
want
it.
to tie everything together in one little
I mean, and you're clearly passionate about it. It's so good. It's exactly where you should be. So just again, the membrane, you could have the healthiest hormones. Guess what? Your hormones attached to the cellular membrane. If that cellular membrane is not healthy, you're not going to have healthy hormonal activity.
Well, you're also not going to have healthy hormones if you don't have a healthy membrane, because every transformation of hormones, from cholesterol to pregnenolone, out to the adrenal hormones and down to the sex hormones, every transformation occurs in a membrane. About 30% are in the membranes of the mitochondria. The other 70% are in the membranes of the endoplasmic reticulum. So if those membranes are damaged, you're not going to be able to create hormones. Then the hormones to activate, to hit hormone receptors, those are in membranes as well. So the hormone receptors can be bad. And then if you're environmentally toxic and you have a bunch of endocrine disruptors, you'll have these little plastics and stuff in the hormone receptors, and the hormone can't hit in there anyways. So you need the healthy membranes, and you need to get rid of the environmental toxins.
All right. So again, just driving it home. So what makes a membrane sick? What makes a membrane malfunction?
You get a lot of oxidative stress on it, or you get metals stick to it. Metals create a lot of membrane dysfunction, or you're not having enough of the right fats to make what are called phospholipids, or what membranes are built out of. Or you don't have enough choline. People are into these low choline diets, but choline makes your membranes. So it could be a lack of adequate nutrition, or an overload of toxins, or both.
And then simply, how do we fix it?
Phosphatidylcholine. Now, fortunately, all of our products use phosphatidylcholine for the delivery system. So all the liposomes are made out of phosphatidylcholine. And so any of the products that you take from us are built that. Or now, if you want really direct, we have a product called Membrane Mend, which really is exactly how it sounds. And that's phosphatidylcholine with some omega-3s and membrane-bound antioxidants, astaxanthin and tocotrienols. So in antioxidants, you've got water-soluble and fat-soluble. The water-soluble ones, you actually make a lot of water-soluble ones, glutathione, superoxide dismutase. Then the ones you can supplement are like vitamin C. But in the membranes, the fat solubles, you get those all from diet, and that's carotenoids and tocopherols, so vitamin A family and vitamin E family. And the best in the vitamin A family, you need some vitamin A, but it's really these more esoteric carotenoids like lycopene from tomatoes, lutein and zeaxanthin that are from orange vegetables. When you supplement them, they're usually extracted from marigold. And astaxanthin is probably the best of them all. And astaxanthin likes to sit in the membrane of the mitochondria. So you're going to get some from your food. Oh, and then in the vitamin E's, vitamin E comes from a lot of different sources, and then there's mixed tocopherols. Then there's a real special one called tocotrienol, and that one has so many benefits and none of the potential downsides. So the membrane mend is nice, direct for that. We also have pure PC, which is just phosphatidylcholine. That's basically little empty liposomes.
So if someone has heard all this and they feel like maybe their diet has been off, maybe they have some toxicity, maybe they have some mold, some heavy metals, is what I'm hearing. I mean, everybody's so different. I know this is like the hard thing with vitamins, right? And what frustrates us all is someone just going out and getting vitamin D because sure, vitamin D is good. But someone could do either the detoxification
Yeah.
protocol, or perhaps they could just start really lightly with a membrane mend.
They could. They could start, like, it depends what they're looking for. Maybe their diet's not good enough and they need vitamin supplementation and all those antioxidants, and they can do the ultravitamin. They want to really go into the membranes. You've got membrane mend. If they want to get a little, then we've got the ketone minerals. These are all the trace minerals coming off the ocean floor. These are all the things that are missing in the produce these days. And so, ultravitamin and ketone is nurturing. Membrane mend is restoring the ability of all these cells to function correctly. And then to get all the junk out, you've got advanced push catch. Now, membrane mend is in there. But if you're like, okay, I'm in, membrane, get the advanced push catch, some ketone hypertonic and isotonic, and some multivitamin, and boom, you're set.
Those are so good. The ketone isotonic, that's the saltwater stuff, right? That I
Yeah.
love. Oh
Yeah,
my God, I love that
ketone,
stuff.
yeah.
So good.
And that's got
Okay.
2. It's got a clear isotonic, and that's more of a calming and draining one. That's the same saltiness as your plasma. And then there's hypertonic, and that one's straight seawater. And this is harvested from a place where all the minerals are coming off the ocean floor. It's very old, clean water, and you use that to remineralize.
Okay. That was super helpful. I hope people got a lot out of that. I want to just go through again, just kind of help people understand at this age, women, this is what we should probably focus on
Yep.
based on our hormones. Same with men. And then I would love to pick your brain about teenage years. We're
Mm,
trying to get some into our son with some of the hormonal fluctuations we're seeing.
yeah.
So, best hormonal supplement support for women. Let's do age 30 to 40 and then 40 to 50.
All right, cool. So 30 to 40, your hormones are starting to decline, but they're still pretty solid. It's more important to get the cycling of the hormones and everything really harmonized. Uh, Bitters, number one. Why bitters? So we have a product called BitterX, and BitterX helps move bile out of the liver through the bile ducts. So that's going to help a detox, but women get very stuck in bile flow, and liver then gets very stuck. And liver is one of the big quarterbacks for the whole hormone and the whole cardiometabolic system. And if it gets stuck and isn't moving, everything gets stuck. And now let's look at how hormones work into that. So, bile flow gets stuck by excess estrogen, and any excess stress locks down the bile. And once that starts, the locking of the bile keeps you more toxic, which locks up the aspect of neurotransmission that estrogen affects. It's called glutamate, the glutamate receptors. And it makes the glutamate receptors hyperfire. And that's what creates anxiety and irritability and locks up the bile flow. And so toxins activate that and estrogen activates that. So we want to release that. The opposite of estrogen is progesterone, and that activates the GABA receptors. So there's this neurotransmission. The glutamate receptors are really good for memory and being on it and vigilance, but they make you anxious and they make you fight or flight. The GABA receptors make you calm, relax, you digest better, you detox better, and you get out of fight or flight into that parasympathetic rest, digest, repair, regenerate, detoxify. So bitters are actually breaking that locked axis and letting everything flow. Then CBD is balancing that GABA glutamate activity and calming down that excess glutamate activity. Also, the uterus has the highest density of cannabinoid receptors in the body, and the ovaries have bitter receptors. So, my big two for women of that age are CBD and bitters. Now, I also like adaptogens because they help the whole hormone system work well. We don't realize, but adaptogens have the same core backbone structure as hormones. All hormones have this thing called the steroid backbone, and it's these two six-membered rings and a five-membered ring, and everyone has that in the center, and the periphery has different groups around it to make one hormone versus another hormone. In fact, estrogen and testosterone look very similar until you see this little difference on the outside. The adaptogens like astragalosides and ginsenosides and methanolides, which come from ashwagandha, all have that same backbone and different sort of sugar groups on the outside. That's why they work so well into the hormone system to move the hormone system. We have a product called Thrivogen that's really good for women, but really all the adaptogens work really well. So those are my big ones in that age. And don't forget to detox because the toxins will really throw everything off.
Can you just, before you go forward to the next one, what are some more common names of adaptogens? Like, are those all the mushrooms that we're seeing in products?
Everybody's into mushrooms now. The adaptogenic mushrooms would be like cordyceps and reishi. Other things like lion's mane, that's more of a brain thing. But so ginseng, astragalus, eleutherococcus, and then more female-specific ones would be maca, donquai, chase tree berry, and asparagus root. That's an Ayurvedic one.
Okay. Are these in the products that you just mentioned?
Those are in Thrivogen, yeah.
Okay. Could we at that age take bitters and CBD every day, or do you take it
Yeah,
various times in your cycle?
yeah. You might, you're going to go heavier right as you're starting to bleed. Load on that stuff. So myrrh is in the bitter X, and this is the one that's really a female driven bitter mix. We have bitters number 9, and does a little better with men. Bitters X, a little better with women because myrrh. Myrrh is a bitter detoxifier in Ayurveda, and it's used in all of the gynecological formulas because it helps push out stagnant chi or stagnant blood out of the uterus, and it pushes out stagnant bile out of the liver. So as you're going in to start to bleed, use a lot of that. CBD can be used throughout, but also especially in that period where you're starting to get to your period, because it'll help with all those different, the anxiety and the pain, all the stuff that bubbles up during that time. So
Okay.
late luteal, double down on all that stuff.
Okay. Are we going to talk about the progesterone later? Is
Yeah.
that
Well, I was
okay?
going to bring that in 40s to 50s. Now, progesterone is, I love progesterone. It's such a go-to. I use it. I know I've given it to Jason. I know,
You had me bathe in it when you first introduced me to it pretty
yes,
much.
I was
I
like,
love it. I love the
okay, I'm gonna rub this on
like
you
all over your belly. Your
constantly over. And then when Eben was having an issue, I would just
yeah.
slather that stuff all over him. Nathan Bryan, the NO guy, he's like, oh my God. So we think it's all for women, but no, it is such a calm down
Yes.
because it works on those GABA receptors and it opens everything up. For men, it helps with prostate inflammation. But for anybody, when you're in that fight or flight, you're
Mhm.
all jacked up, you're traveling all over the place,
Yeah.
and it just brings all that down. And so it really is a go-to. And it's not like estrogen where you gotta, sort of control where you go with it and know what you're doing. Progesterone is, anytime you need that. And then in a woman's cycle, it's more in the luteal phase, that second half of the cycle. So in a woman's phase, the first half is kind of low and lowish, like, 1 to 2, and that's where guys run. And then the luteal phase, they jump up to like 20, and it's stabilizing the uterine lining for implantation, and then allowing it to all clear off, and so it clears out the lining. And so it's super important to all that functioning. It opens up the liver, gets the liver to flow, and calms you down. So you can use that in your 30s to 40s as needed, but it becomes much more important in the 40s. In the 40s, all women are in a period of relative estrogen dominance. That may start as early as 35, but that period of relative estrogen dominance is that our progesterone stores drop faster than the estrogen stores. So estrogen's going down slowly, but progesterone's going down really fast. The When people say estrogen dominance, it's a ratio of estrogen to progesterone. When you've got too much estrogen signaling, not enough progesterone. We already said that estrogen makes you on it, and progesterone calms you down. And so you need that in the right balance. Estrogen builds the lining of the uterus, and progesterone is responsible for clearing it back out. You need both of those going on. And so in the 40s, women, that's when they're starting to feel anxious and insecure. And then the hormones are going down faster and faster. It's like, I'm not beautiful. And,
I am enough. I'm okay.
yes, I'm not enough. And then you put the progesterone and you're like,
You're like,
what
I'm
was I
good. I'm
thinking?
good.
I'm beautiful.
No, it literally helps you for sure. Like I sleep great. I sleep great in general, but there's times in my cycle where my head's just going in the night, and like I'll grab it, put it on, and instantly like zoom, drop
It
down.
brings you right down. Yeah, I
Yeah, for
travel
real.
with it. I use it a lot. Like I said, a lot of these guys that are in our circle that are traveling like mad. They found that the progesterone's really a game changer for them. And so older guys who have sleep problems, you give that to them and it chills them right out. And women certainly with sleep problems, it's just a wonder. But then in the 40s, you're also losing DHEA, you're losing testosterone. That's part of losing, estrogen's making you, more insecure, and, progesterone makes you more chill, but testosterone makes you like, no, I am woman, hear me roar. I am here. And so those are called the androgens, DHEA and testosterone. And you need to build those at that age as they're starting to go down. And so we have a product, DHEA Plus, which drives DHEA way up and brings testosterone up to the top of the reference range. And, women feel just great when they're on that. And it's funny, Mindy, went off of it and tried just our like straight DHEA. And, I could just see, she was like, I'm like, what did you
Like,
do?
I could help you. I could help you.
I mean, what did you do? And she tells me, and I'm like, and then she flips back over and comes back in like 2 days. She's like, oh my God, I'm never going to do that again.
Right.
And, my friend Lauren Bramley describes, because she's, in her 50s and great hormone coach, great MD. And she goes, I will never run out of my testosterone. She describes, forgetting it once and being on this trip and just like, and it was a cream. So, it goes away in a day. And she's like, I couldn't even function anymore. So
I haven't taken that one. I'll have to try that one out.
oh, it's time. So DHEA plus, start with a half teaspoon a day, then see where you're at, then try a teaspoon a day. It's, basically if you're a little too, jacked up and aggressive at one, just drop down to a half. And usually, so let's just take an average woman, she's, in her early 40s, start with a half teaspoon, go into late 40s, and starting to lose the cycle, go to a full teaspoon.
Okay. So I do want to touch on, like, I never thought I'd be someone dabbling in hormone creams. And again, I've only really done the progesterone, but I love it. And so I'm interested. And so I know you're a natural practitioner. You speak that language. So how do you feel about that? Or how do you address that question when people ask you, like, is there a cancer risk?
First I'll start with Frank Schallenberger's quote on hormones. He goes, people tell me it's not natural to supplement hormones. I'll tell you what's natural: to dry up, lose all of your drive, and become a piece of shit by 55. That's natural. You want that?
Yeah.
And it's like, that guy's like running around, tough as nails in his upper 70s. And so we really can extend, this period where we're still exuding that power of our youth, and we're not graduated to the grandpa land. And then you get into cancer risk. Well, then you get into fear. And the fear around hormones for women was driven by something called the Women's Health Initiative that was done in the 70s and 80s. And they were looking at hormone supplementation, and they didn't set up their cohorts right. Back then we thought smoking was like a vitamin or something. And so, they weren't controlling for smoking. They weren't controlling for who was doing which kind of hormone. Are you taking horse pee, Premarin, or are you taking, bioidentical? Are you taking it with progesterone? Is it progesterone or is it a progestin? The pharma companies tried to make all this. They can't patent the hormones. So they tried to make derivations of them. Oh, we'll make a better hormone. We'll make a better estrogen. They screwed all that stuff up. So once, in fact, and so these authors were looking at it and they thought that estrogen supplementation came along with an increase in all-cause mortality, especially cardiovascular, but they hadn't set everything up right. And later they looked at it, and the same authors retracted the whole thing, and originally making a big splash about when they first came out. They're like, we think there's a problem. But the media picked up onto it and just spread it, blasted it out. Europeans didn't pick up on it, and they kept supplementing estrogen in elderly women. So then they reanalyzed the Women's Health Initiative, and they found that actually they were dead wrong, and that estrogen supplementation went along with a lowering of all-cause mortality, a lowering of breast cancer rates, and an increase in survival from breast cancer if you had any hormone supplementation before. It's backward from everything everybody thought. So the way it's done now amongst, the smart hormone people, the people who go to A4M and AMMG, you're going to get androgens as a woman. I mean, DHEA and testosterone, or with us, the DHEA makes the testosterone, and then you're going to get progesterone and estrogen. And you never give estrogen without progesterone. And, there's a threshold of estrogen you need, and there's two forms, estradiol and estriol. Estradiol is the one that does have activity at some of the estrogen receptors that are associated with breast cancer. And you only really need a little bit of that to keep the hot flashes down. And if you have risks, you're going to have a little bit of that and a large amount of estriol. Estriol doesn't have any activity on breast tissue, has all the activity on the pelvic floor. So people talk about vaginal atrophy, which is a thinning of the vaginal walls and a drying up of the mucus secreting glands. So vaginal dryness goes with that. Estradiol or estriol is also the receptor that's through the urinary tract. So it's in the vaginal tract and the urinary tract. So these UTIs that older women start getting tons of UTIs, estriol will firm up the urinary tract and push those way back. Tons of data on that. It'll change the vaginal atrophy. It'll stop a pelvic floor prolapse. So it's the thing that feeds all of that. So you can do estriol without having any worry about breast tissue. And so sort of how we like it is, we lead heavy with estriol, a little bit of estradiol according to people's needs, a lot of progesterone, and, a good amount of the androgens. And, the risk factors just, they just aren't there at that point.
Interesting. And what are you guys making your products out of?
Everybody's hormones are made in labs where they, people like to say, oh, they come from wild yam. And that's everybody's favorite term. Oh, I get my bioidentical hormones from wild yam. Actually, you get a molecule called diosgenin, which is a good precursor for hormones. And then they synthetically make the hormones. What's bioidentical is not that you found a yam that had enough estrogen to feed you, because that'd be a weird yam. What's bioidentical is that it's estrogen. It's not some conjugated estrogen or estrogen, some weird group that has stronger affinity for the estrogen receptor. It's not horse estrogen. So Premarin was equine or horse estrogen. And yeah, there was some estrogen in there. And then there was a bunch of non-human bioidentical estrogens that were horse-based. In fact, after you go off them, they can perpetuate in your body for a long time. So bioidentical means the molecule is identical. And the precursor comes from a natural source, but then they have to synthesize that. Same for estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, testosterone, DHT. They're all made the same way. And, there's two sources. Generally, you can get the diosgenin from soy, or you can get it from wild yam.
Okay. All right. Can we head over to anything we didn't touch on for men, 30 to 40, 40 to 50? Testosterone, cortisol.
Yeah, the men are a little bit more difficult to
They are.
rebuild.
They are.
Yeah, that's what all the women say. I was always, women are so difficult, but then you get the hormones.
It's the men. It's the men. We're so
So
easy.
adaptogens are great for men. And we have a number of adaptogen blends. We have Longevity Elite, the One, Nano Mojo. And one of the things that adaptogens do, and I didn't mention this when I was saying they have the same hormone structure, but they actually increase the density and activity of the hormone receptors. So hormone activity is a combination of the level of the hormone times the density or the number of hormone receptors to receive its signaling, because they fit in like lock and key, and then they turn on a bunch of programs. And that's how the hormones do what they do. So the adaptogens actually build how many hormone receptors that you have, so you can be more sensitive to the amount of hormones that you have in your system. Men typically will supplement with testosterone. Actually, this is my bottle of nanoparticle testosterone. This is we don't make this, but we make the emulsion system for it, and we sell it to the compounding pharmacies, so we can do a sublingual testosterone, just like we're giving you sublingual DHEA. So men can supplement DHEA. They can get that over the counter. They can get testosterone from a pharmacy. Then the adaptogens are for building all of that inner harmony of the receptors. But then detox is big for them as it is for women.
And for the hormones, for them, daily, they don't have a cycle, right? The same kind
No,
of cycle
it's
you do, so,
yeah, it's daily with men.
like as needed?
Yeah,
Just based
yeah.
on how many.
Pregnenolone is another one that's really good for men.
Okay. Well, that's pretty easy. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
they are a little bit more simple than us.
They
Sometimes.
don't have to cycle. They just put it
Yeah.
in and keep it going.
Yeah. Like it's just this. All right, let's touch just quickly on teens. So, like 12 to 15-year-old boy, girl. I mean, I assume we're not going to be messing a lot with hormones, but detox liver support.
Well, adaptogens are good because they're already messing with hormones. And
Okay.
so, detox, getting him to take binders is really good. My son, he'll take that. He doesn't like to take a lot of stuff, but you can give him like the ultravitamin as a multivitamin. You can put in a little water if they don't like the flavor. Quinton, my kids take those
Oh,
too
yeah.
and
Yep.
do really well with them. They'll take the charcoal as a binder. And if they're having issues with the hormones, if it's not going very smoothly, you can get them some adaptogens to smooth that out. We have one called Ultra Energy, which doesn't have too much yang or too much yin. It's just sort of smoothing all that flow out. We found that was really helpful. There's another one called the One that does that as well. It's got Ultra Energy in it and then some mitochondrial boosters. We found that really helpful in pubescent autistic kids because they have a lot of hormone activity. Autistics have high testosterone. That's why it's 4-to-1 boys over girls in autism. And the girls who are autistic have high testosterone levels. So giving them adaptogens help just kind of smooth out that whole system there. And CBD is a really good one for them. The social anxieties and stuff just helps calm all that stuff down
For teens or
for
for children with
teens.
autism.
Oh, it's just indispensable for autism, but it is great. It is great with the teens.
And they can take that daily.
They can take that daily or as needed. A lot if you're like ADHD before you go to school,
Okay. All
the
right.
really like jacked ones before they go to school, they'll be much more harmonized. They won't be like, winding up and acting out in class or getting distracted. It really helps focus.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that makes sense actually. The last one for protocols, I was going to ask you, you kind of touched on it already. Is there one supplement, if everyone just wants to keep it really simple, what's the one supplement that they should take?
It's gonna be either Quinton or Ultravitamin. For something that's just one hit, gonna hit all of your needs. And really, I like to put those. We couldn't really put them both together because you've got these minerals that you just can't get in your food anymore, and then you've got every one of the core vitamins. And then you screw up your eating, you'll still have all that stuff in there.
Perfect. And then I know there's times when Jason and I want to keep it super simple and we just take the one, your supplement, the one. So that's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
know. I mean,
leading
that
into.
really.
We love that
Because
one.
it's like I'm trying to talk for everybody, but if you're already taking vitamins and stuff and you want one of ours, the one is it. It's got the full dose of adaptogens, it's got a full dose of phosphatidylcholine, your membrane support, and then the magic in that is PQQ. I mean, it's got support from resveratrol and tocotrienols, but the real magic is this stuff called PQQ that activates mitochondrial function, stimulates mitochondrial biogenesis, which is rebuilding of it. And that one's got a total cult following. And like the name says, the one. I was just trying to be more like for Joe Schmo out there who isn't taking anything this. But if you're
Okay.
taking the base stuff from all the other supplement companies, the one gets you these things you just can't get elsewhere.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna load up. I told you already, I'm putting in my order. I'm gonna do the detox and the one. It's just a good
Yes.
reminder for me to bump it up.
Yeah.
Okay, just real quick, because I know we're running late on time. I want to touch on um, supplement stacks that we could do pre, post biohacking, whatever we want to call it. So let's do sauna, ice, hyperbarics, or like workout.
Sauna, it's push sauna catch. Just did it this morning. Got a new as I just got off the road. I'm gonna do another round after this. So you take liver sauce, glutathione, whatever you're putting in that liquid stack, get in your sauna. 30 minutes later, throw your binders in there. It is just incomparable. Foot baths too. If you do ionic foot baths, those really do work for mobilizing toxins. They don't go into the bath. That's just acids off your feet and the metals working together. So those are really good. Push, massage catch. Then we go into other things like ice baths. There you want some mitochondrial support. So NAD platinum or the one before your ice bath. HBOT, I like our performance cardio and maybe the one as well for mitochondria because that oxygen's going to get in there. You need the circulation to bring the oxygen everywhere, and performance cardio is just great for that. Cold fingers get warm right away, and then the one for tuning up the mitochondria with that.
Okay. And what about last one, like recovery from workout?
Ketone hypertonic, bring those minerals in after a workout, and hydrogen, H2 Elite. Those are great. In fact, I know Ben Greenfield always puts some water, puts the hydrogen in there, dumps the ketone in there, drinks it down.
Yep. Why hydrogen? Why do we need hydrogen?
Hydrogen is going to help you hydrate more, and it's also going to hit the same triggers that your exercise did, the AMPK triggers that will turn up autophagy and turn up repair processes.
Amazing. So much information. Dr. Shade, I'm going to make sure we link, in all the notes, your guys' company, our favorite supplements that we all talked about. Any last pieces of advice, any tips, anything exciting coming up in Quicksilver?
Well, hormones are out, but we're going to increase the training around that, so that's really exciting. But don't in biohacking we get like two go. It's like fight or flight type of supplementation. Yet healing's all from parasympathetic. So don't forget mindfulness, breathing, taking time in the calm, and especially if you're doing the detox. You wake up, do some breathing, sit quietly, then take your supplements and do your sauna. Everything will work better. So just remember to take care of your mind and get yourself into parasympathetic state, because that's really where healing comes from.
It's so true. And we all have access and we all have all the
Yeah.
answers. You're one of the busiest guys I know. You travel all the time. So how do you carve out that space?
Yeah, in the mornings I sit over there, and there's my captain's chair, and I drink hot water and meditate, just sit in my space, get ready, and then I'll take some more stuff. Maybe I'll do a sauna, but it's really that morning space is where I take my calm space.
I agree. Me too. And it's just sitting. There's nothing more that has to happen. I just sit.
Now
Whatever happens,
I'm
happens.
gonna breathe, and I'm gonna do this thing. It's
Yeah.
like just sit.
Yeah.
And really the key is to just be aware of being aware. That's like the super secret meditation trick, and it's the easiest thing in the world. Just notice that you're just sitting and you're aware of the space, and you just sit in that, and then all this stuff unfolds from that.
Love it. Thank you. So much great information. I hope to see you soon. And I'm sure everybody got so much out of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that was so much incredible information. I'm literally going to put my order in for Quicksilver. I'm so excited. I've taken many of their products in the past, and they make such an impact in my health. And as always, I feel like these kinds of things are just really good reminders as to the why behind what we're doing works. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and throw a like under it. I always love to hear your comments. And if there's someone in your life that can benefit from this information, please go ahead and pass it along. I'm so passionate about making these things easy for everybody, and the best way to spread the word is through you. Thank you.